You know, when you see a government building a huge new bridge or a power plant, have you ever stopped and wondered, how exactly are they paying for all of this? Sometimes it feels less like straightforward accounting and a lot more like a magic trick. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the biggest illusions in public finance, a technique that can make billions in debt just poof, vanish from the books. Let's get into it.
Okay, so take a look at this quote. It really just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? If a government sets up a company with no income, has it borrow a ton of money to build, say, a road that doesn't even have tolls, is that a smart business move, or is it just a sneaky way to hide the fact that the state's finances are in trouble? It sounds like a classic shell game, right? But here's the thing. It's a very real and very common financial tool. And by the time we're done here, you're going to understand exactly how this trick works, and more importantly, why you should care.
So that's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? If a government borrows all this money but it doesn't show up on their official books, where on earth does it go? I mean, it can't just evaporate into thin air. So let's play detective, follow the money, and get to the bottom of this.
All right, the secret to this whole financial sleight of hand has a pretty boring-sounding name, but don't let that fool you. It's called a special purpose vehicle, or SPV for short, and this little tool is the absolute heart of the entire shell game.
So what is an SPV really? Well, imagine a state government wants to build a new airport. Instead of taking out a loan themselves, they create a totally new, legally separate company just for that one project. That's it. That new company is the special purpose vehicle. It has one job and one job only.
The actual process is almost laughably simple when you break it down. Step 1, the state creates this new company. Step 2, the company, the SPV, is the one that goes to the banks and borrows billions for the project. And step 3, this is the magic moment, because the SPV is its own company on paper, the debt officially belongs to it, not to the state. And just like that, billions in debt are shifted off the government's official balance sheet. And this is the perfect way to see the difference. On one side, you've got your normal, on-budget borrowing. It's all out in the open, it counts towards the state's deficit, and there are legal limits on how much you can do. But on the other side, you've got this off-budget borrowing using an SPV. It's hidden, it's murky, and this is the big one. It lets the government get around those debt limits. It makes the state's finances look a whole lot healthier than they actually are.
So, it all seems like a pretty clever loophole, right? A smart way to get things done. But like any good magic trick, there's always a secret. And this whole illusion starts to fall apart the second you ask one very simple, very logical question.
And this is the big question, isn't it? This is where the whole thing starts to look a little shaky. Think about it. That special company, the SPV, was created to build a road. But what if that road doesn't have any tolls? It's not making any money. So you've got this company with a mountain of debt and absolutely zero income. How in the world is it supposed to pay back its loans? It just doesn't add up.
Well, here's the not-so-surprising answer. The state government has to step in and pay the bills. Every single year, money from the public budget, that's our money, taxpayer money, gets funneled over to the SPV just so it can make its loan payments. So yeah, the debt might be on the SPV's books, but the bill comes right back to the state.
This little table just lays it all out, plain and simple. The official story is that the borrower is the SPV, and the liability is on its books. But the reality? The real borrower is the state, and the liability, the responsibility to pay it back, falls squarely on the shoulders of the taxpayer. It's state debt just wearing a clever disguise.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't some fringe theory. This right here is the smoking gun. The actual law, in this case from Meghalaya, says it out loud. It says that if the state budget is being used to pay off an SPV's loan, then that loan legally counts as part of the state's total debt. It's a flat-out admission that this is, in fact, state debt.
Okay, so one or two of these SPVs might not be a huge deal. But what happens when this trick is used again and again and again for dozens of projects? Well, that's when you start to get a much bigger, much more dangerous problem. Let's look at the true cost here.
And the perfect name for this problem is a shadow ledger. I mean, just think about that term. It's like a whole second set of accounting books, kept in the dark, completely hidden from public view. And in this shadow ledger, all of these off-budget debts are just piling up, higher and higher, year after year, with nobody watching.
And the thing is, this isn't just about creative accounting.
It's actually really dangerous. This invisible debt builds up until one day it can force a government to make some really tough choices, like slashing public services or jacking up taxes. It completely dodges the rules that are meant to keep spending under control. And the whole thing happens in secret. It's such a big deal that even the Comptroller and Auditor General, the nation's top financial watchdog, is constantly warning about it.
So, we've broken down how the trick works, but just knowing about it isn't enough. Knowledge is a tool, right? So now let's talk about how you can use what you've just learned and become a kind of fiscal detective for your own state.
And this is where it gets really powerful. Because once you understand the mechanics of the shell game, you can start to see it for yourself. You can look at big government projects happening in your own community and start asking some very sharp and very important questions.
So here's your mission, should you choose to accept it. It's just 3 steps. First, see if you can find a list of all the SPVs your state government has created. Second, for each one you find, check if it's actually making any money. If it's not, well, now you know who's really paying for it. And that leads to the third and most important question of all. Why didn't the state just borrow this money directly and transparently in the first place?
And we're going to end on that question right there. It's a simple question to ask, but finding the answer is one of the most vital things we can do as citizens. Because at the end of the day, government accountability isn't just some abstract idea. It starts with transparency. And now you know exactly where to start looking for the shadows.